multiplicity of life existing in the earth element. There's multiplicity of life existing in the water element. There's multiplicity of life existing in the fire element. Water is not just liquid. The fire you see it's not the fire being per se, because the fire you see is the physical body of the fire being. It's the same way people living in the water dimensions will look at the earth and say, oh, it's just earth, there's nothing more to it. There are trees that when you are able to access the tree and walk into the tree, you realize that there's a whole world in the tree. When you go into the anthill, you realize there's a whole colony. Some of us came from the fire realm. The technology in the fire realms is too advanced for the technology we are seeing here.
Over here we feeling free and good. Easily I drop my top and cruise. Them say na monkey we be, so we settling with our banana. I see God in all my people. So if heaven know they hear, then where he did, I can only love my place. And we still make them feel vibration. Vibration. We still make them feel vibration. Ooh, vibration. Still make them feel vibration. Vibration. We still make them feel vibration. Ooh, vibration.
Aquaba. It's always exciting. I'm always excited to come your way, and we're growing the number. I'm seeing the viewership are growing, and I want to say, if you have any question, whatever it is you have, just send in the inbox. I'll answer it. Probably a whole class. I'll just touch on a question and answer it. And also, actually, as a matter of fact, 2 Media is our third product. Our first was the Power Ring. The second was the Miracle Soap. The third is 2 Media. 2 Media is what I personally invested in, because right from, you can ask the team, right from day one, I told the team, this is it. This is what the world needs. This is what will make a great influence. This is bringing a great change, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that we have this amazing product, and it's changing lives, and it's going to change more lives. And it's your low, it's the instead of, let me show you something. Now it's too dangerous to show it like that, but instead of having all these guns and all these weapons on you, what it is you have to protect yourself, get it to Media. Because the power rings are too expensive for a lot of people, right? And you coming to a shrine for us to do something for you to carry wherever you go, it's a bit, people will look at you and run away from you. But the 2 Media is very beautiful. I mean, it's carefully made, and to ensure that it suits all environment. You can just hold it, hanging in your car, hanging at your office, hanging at marketplace, put it in your purse, put it in amongst your goods, and nobody will even ask anything. Nobody will even. It's 2 Media. You need one. You got to get one. Anyway, I don't want to take too much time on this. Let's go straight into today's class. And I want to still continue what I started yesterday. I was tapping into Ether or Ethera. People say Ethera or Ether. Ether is basically the first elemental being that was created by the Creator. A lot of people would think that, wait a minute, if Ether is glowing, shouldn't it be the last? No. Think about it. If you are building, wouldn't you want to lay the foundations before you put a whole structure up? You get what I'm saying? The foundation needs to come first to hold the building. So Ether is the foundation, the platform which everything is sitting on. But let me go through the list again. We have the first is the ethereal or the ether. The second is air. The third is water. The fourth is earth, and the fifth is fire. In that order, the energies came in that order. The elemental beings were created in that specific order. And if you come into the class, you'll know why, right? This automatically makes every single existence in the multi-universe influenced by these 4 powerful beings. So we've finished with ether. These 4 beings, there's not a single existence that is not influenced by these 4 beings. Every single one of us is influenced by these 4 beings. Every single one. As a matter of fact, it starts with a basis. That means, what this means is that there's a part of these 5 major beings in every single existence here, mainly it starts with one basic eternal being, elemental being, sorry, then from there, as you evolve individually, the rest would keep manifesting strongly in your life accordingly. We must also consider the fact that these four elemental beings which have existence in them, there's also a whole multi-existing universe in, for example, the earth, the air element. The multiplicity of life existing in the earth element. There's multiplicity of life existing in the water element. There's multiplicity of life existing in the fire element. I say that to say a lot of people might not get what I just said, that there's a whole life. You first need to understand that water is not just liquid. You understand? Water is not. Water is the fabric, is the garment, is the body of the elemental being water. So what you see physically, there's a whole engine that is sitting inside water that makes it what it is that you do not see. There's a whole engine. It's just like there's a whole engine sitting like fire. The fire you see, it's not the fire being per se, because the fire you see is the physical body of the fire being. The real fire being is sitting inside the fire. They are living beings sitting inside fire, just as they are living beings sitting inside the air. Just as they are living beings sitting inside water. Many of you know these living beings in water as what? Miami water, and the water energies, and the water beings, and the people who live. You say there are people under the sea. Of course there are people under the sea, because water, you see the outside of it and think that it's just water. It's the same way people living in the water dimensions will look at the earth and say, oh, it's just earth. There's nothing more to it. But no, there's existentiality, there's living. I mean, water is very practical, right? If not even, let's put human beings, physical forms aside. When you go into the water dimensions, you find a lot of multiplicity of creatures that can only exist in the water realms. These are beings. It's just that there are multiplicity of creatures that exist on the. Let me explain it this way. When you look at the earth, I mean, from what you've seen in the movies on TV and all that, when you look at the earth, it's the round ball, right? I said round ball, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. When you look at it from the sky view or the plane view or bird view, you call it, you see just a tiny, tiny thing. When you look at it from that angle, you don't see anybody walking in the earth. You don't see any buildings in the earth. You don't see any structure. All you see is the huge ball. That's all you see. And with the clouds forming, you don't see through it and see that there are people, there are lives, there are sons being born, there are daughters being born, there are people getting pregnant. You don't see that there are people hustling every day, people going to jobs, people going to do deals, and you don't see all these things. You don't see. But all these living existence are in the earth. The earth is a mother. And almost every single person on the face of the earth knows the earth is a mother. This is not a revelation, right? A mother, that is a full being. It means the earth by herself is a full being, and within her womb, there's a whole existence. Just as you, the human being, within you, there's a whole ecology in you. There are fungi, there are bacteria, there are cells, there are neurons, there are so many multiplicity of intelligence living in you. The same way there are living intelligence living in the earth. But when you're outside, you don't see Kwame's home, you don't see Kwesi's house, you don't see Kofi's house, you don't see, but all of it is the same way. When you look up, you don't see anything existing in the air, right? But when you are able to get the access, the key, the doorways to go into the air energy, you go in and realize that, whoa, there's a whole world here. It's just that there are trees that when you are able to access the tree and walk into the tree, you realize that there's a whole world in the tree. Places like an anthill, one of our altars. When you go into the anthill, you realize there's a whole colony, there's a whole activity, there's a whole people. So once you go through the air element, there's a whole people in the air element. And some of us on the face of the earth came from that realm into this earth existence. Some of us also came from the water realm. In the same way, when you go to the water energy, you see that there's a whole existence. Some of us came from the water realm. Some of us came from the fire realm. Fire is there's a whole system. As a matter of fact, let me give away. The technology in the fire realms is too advanced for the technology we are seeing here. And here's the code. If you want to advance in technology, if you know, of course, the right codings, what you do is that you tap into that dimension, and that dimension will teach you. The gods in that dimension are the gods that teach this physical earth, the things you need to know about technology. They're the ones teaching us all these things. There's a god called Ebook, right? He's one of the gods of the fire dimension who is taking technology and science. Yes, sir. So all the elements has living beings existing in this multiplicity of elements. And what happens is that in the manifestation of this dimension, each and every single one of us come from one of these elements. That's why somebody is fire, somebody is water, somebody is earth, somebody is air. Because you came from your true creative cause into this reality to manifest here, to experience the earth. It's the same way when we leave this earth reality, we go into this other dimensions to go and experience life there. That's why I said from the beginning, life don't necessarily die. It don't. We just move. We evolve from one dimension to the other, and to the other, and to the other. We keep climbing into different multiplicity of dimensions just to experience their realms. Summary is, air is a whole world on its own. People are living in the air dimension. There's a village in the Volta region called it's a town. It's Doji. It's called Doji, right? What it literally means is that the air people, the people who live in the air, they came from the air dimension. It's there. Just go there, you know. This is a whole colony that came from the air dimension. So somebody just gave me the right name, Joje. It's there right now. The entire community came from the air dimension. Let me give you another place. Buzia. I'm from Busia. Our great grandmothers came from the water element. This is what Hollywood and all these people call Atlantis. So watch this. When they come on your screens and say Atlantis, you say, oh, that's fancy. That's a world. You think it's not fancy? You watch Aquaman. Where do you think they are getting the idea of Aquaman? It's people living in the water element. It's a whole world on its own. And every single one of us came from one of these elements. And it's upon knowing which element you came from and the combination of the element, the day, that helps you accurately execute your task here. Time is up, I gotta run away. You know, guys, I love you. I come your way to continue from this place. The next video, I'm going to teach you how to now apply. No, I'm going to start with how the elements get into a mother's womb. I'm going to start with that. Then from there, we go to the applications of the element, how to apply this element into your daily prayers. I love you guys.